The night shift at a second-rate fast food joint is where time goes to die. Minutes take hours and hours take years. There are only so many times a person can fill the sour cream and guacamole guns in one go without wanting to put them to your temple and pull the trigger. Would it kill you? No. Would it make a mess? Absolutely. And what a godsend that would be. It would give you something to do. Mas Tacos was in the Bentwater Corners, a small suburban strip mall with little to no foot traffic. Every store here was the generic version of something more successful. Like a copy, it never looked as good as the original. I told friends Bentwater Corners was the island of misfit toys. It surprised me that we stayed in business at all. We were located between Burgers Ahoy, another also ran chain restaurant, and the confusing Bank of Chester. I don't know if somebody named the bank after a founder or a city named Chester, and it was never explained to me. In the 5 months that I worked at the taco shack, I had never seen a person enter or exit the bank. Hell, I had never even seen anyone use the ATM, not even to pull out drug money. My school schedule forces me to work late nights. I'm there from 6 in the evening until around midnight or a little bit after, depending on how much cleaning that we have to do. Often I'm in my car by 12:01. Like I said, we're never busy. After our dinner rush of about 6 to 15 people, we have nothing but time to kill. We clean and prep, and once that's done, we double and triple check our work. If we still have time, the entire shift takes turns messing around on their phone while keeping an eye out for Mary, our manager. I didn't mind Mary. After years of being a stay-at-home mom, her divorce suddenly threw her back into the workforce. Sometimes she acted a bit harried and cracked the whip, but she was also understanding. Mary wasn't the ogre that some of my fellow coworkers made her out to be. She was the boss that had to do boss things occasionally. Those actions often flew in the face of people trying to do as little as possible and still stay gainfully employed. Most nights, I worked with the same crew of miscreants. They were an eclectic bunch, but we all got along. It's like soldiers in the army. You're thrown into a foxhole with whoever and end up bonding over your shared trauma. Most nights it was me, an aspiring rapper named Doug, aka the Doug Father, Jenna, a social media influencer in training, and a rotating cast of new hires. This night the new guy was a pale goth guy named Reggie. If you asked me, Reggie isn't exactly a goth-sounding name, but who am I to judge? Tonight, while we were going about our normal Dodge Mary routine, I heard Mary let loose a string of curse words from her little office that would make a sailor blush. I took this as a cue to put my phone away and pick up a mop. As I was wringing it out, a frazzled Mary came rushing to me. Her face was panic-stricken and slightly pale. Something was wrong. "Oh, Jill, my asshole ex just called. He was letting Jeremy play Superman at home." "Superman?" She sighed. I could tell that this had been a point of contention before. The asshole ex lets him jump off the top bunk into a pile of pillows. Anyway, Jeremy landed on his arm funny and the asshole ex thinks that he may have broken it. They're off to urgent care right now. I have to go meet them there. "Of course," I said. "Should we close up or—" "Oh, I can't close this early. Mr. Adamyan would kill me if he found out that we did," she sighed. "Can I trust you to close up the shop tonight? I can give you the alarm codes and the keys." Her face was pleading as intensely as her words. I saw the worried mom look in her eyes and my heart softened. "Of course, go be with your kid." "Oh my God, thank you. I owe you big time." "It's family stuff, no worries." She gave me a quick hug and whispered, "I can't trust anyone else. You're the only one here going places, present company included." "Oh, not true," I said, smiling. "You're going to be with your baby." She gave me a friendly smile. "Thank you, you're a hero." She ran back to her office to gather her things. As soon as she was out of sight, Doug sidled up to me. He nodded toward Mary's office. "What did Live, Laugh, Love want with you?" I grinned. "She put me in charge for the night." Doug laughed. "God, dog, this whole place is gonna go up in flames then." "Shut up," I said, punching his arm. "How come she picked you? She should have picked me," he said, frowning. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Doug feigned defense. "Shit, if I ran this place, I'd have us going toe-to-toe with Taco Bell in 2 weeks. People would be beating down the doors to get our Sopa de Awesomes and sombrero taco boxes." "Uh-huh. And once I launched our new mascot, Mr. Taco, shit, we'd be rolling in dough. Or tortillas, as it were," before adding, "And Mr. Taco, that's the best name you got." Gotta keep the names simple for Americans. We're simple people. Check this, though. Mr. Taco would have a huge sombrero and those bullet things across his chest. But instead of bullets, they'd be little tacos. Pretty slick, right? The taco guy would have smaller tacos as decorations. In a world of living and breathing tacos, wouldn't those little tacos be baby tacos? Kinda messed up, Doug. "Yeah, Joe's right. The name needs work," Jenna said, joining us by the nacho station. "I know branding and Mr. Taco doesn't cut it. When I started my GRWM videos, I started calling them Watch a Girl Glow Up to stand out. I gained 200 followers overnight." "'Cause you were showing off your curves, Jenna. You got it easy." Jenna laughed. "Easy? You tried coming up with compelling daily content to satisfy thousands of parasocial stans. Boobs and ass can only take you so far. To that end, maybe Mr. Taco needs a lady friend. Señorita Carnitas." "Oh, I like that," Jenna said. "Name is better too." Doug waved us off. "Man, y'all overthink things. Mr. Taco don't need a lady. He's too wild to be tamed. He's got that iconic Ronald McDonald energy. For real, kids would be taking photos and shit with him. Drawing pictures. I probably won awards for creating him." Let's get a normie's view on this," Jenna said. "Hey Reggie, what do you think of Mr. Taco?" The quiet guy just shrugged his shoulders, and Doug nodded. "See, he knows that it's fire. Good shit, Reg. And y'all ain't even heard about Taco Land yet. It's full of kick-ass characters." And before I could further explore the origins of Taco Land, is that where Chester is located? Mary came back into the kitchen with her purse on her shoulder and keys clutched in her hands. She called everybody over and sighed. "Look, my kid hurt himself and I have to go. Joe's in charge while I'm gone. What she says goes. If she tells me that you guys made her life hell, so help me God, I'll have you cleaning the grease traps for a week. Am I clear?" Everybody nodded. Mary turned to me and placed her hand on my shoulder. "If you need anything, and I mean anything, don't hesitate to call or text me, okay?" "Gotcha. Thanks again. No worries, go see Jeremy. I know that he needs his mom." Mary gave me a kind nod before blowing out of the shop. Seconds later, we saw her taillight speed down the road. I turned back to my staff and saw that all of them had pulled out their phones already. I wasn't upset. We were ahead in our cleaning and the real boss was gone. At this point in the evening, we were just running down the clock anyway. I just prayed that no fires broke out in the last few hours that we were open. Seemed simple enough. About 20 minutes after Mary left, the restaurant's phone started ringing and gave us all a shock. We had never heard the phone ringing here before. Hell, Jenna admitted that she actually had never seen a landline in person before tonight. The phone was in Mary's office. Jenna, Doug, and I made our way over there. Reggie was in his own world and we didn't bother him. "Should I answer?" I asked. "Hey, you're the boss," Doug said. "What if it's a supplier with questions about, I don't know, stock or something?" "No supplier's gonna call a store at close to 10 o'clock at night," Jenna said. It could be Mr. Adamyan, I said. What would he think if he called and Mary didn't answer? Just tell him that she's taken a huge dump and she'll call him back, Doug said. And guarantee you won't be asking any follow-up questions. Oh, that's vile, Doug, Jenna said, her face twisting in disgust. I solve problems, Jenna. Sometimes that means going a vile route. Oh shit, vile route, that's a banger, Doug said, jotting the note into his lyric book. I'm gonna answer it, I said. I walked into Mary's office and plucked the receiver up from the cradle. Hello? Hey, this is Paul over at Burgers Ahoy. Hi, if you want something, just come on over and order. We're really slow tonight. No thanks, I was calling to ask if you knew that you have a guy who's been standing at your drive-thru speaker for 10 minutes. What? I asked, confused. When somebody pulls up to the drive-thru speaker, a whole host of things happen. A timer starts, bells ring, and the staff jumps into action. But nothing ever sounded. The shop had been quiet. I told Paul as much. Well, we've been watching him for a while. He's standing there. It's unsettling. What's going on? Who is it? Jenna asked. Oh, it's Paul from Burgers Ahoy. He says somebody's been standing at the drive-thru speaker for 10 minutes. Why the hell would he do that? Doug asked. You want me to send you a video? Give me your number and I'll text it over. It's so weird, Paul said. Hold up, let me have somebody check our monitors, I said. I turned to Doug but was already heading that way. A few seconds later, I heard him yell back that there wasn't anything on the screen. I told Paul. I don't know what to tell you. Everybody here sees it. He's wearing a long black trench coat and, I don't know, those old hats from the 1930s. A derby, I think. I gave Paul my number and told him to send me the video. I got the number to Burgers Ahoy and told him that I would call him back as soon as we watched it. He told us to be safe and he hung up. A few seconds later, my phone dinged and I had a new text message. Hold up, Jenna said, pulling out her phone. I am 100% taking a video of all this. Ghost things go nuts on TikTok. Doug, call Reggie in here, I said. I don't know, man, that dude gives me the squirmy squiggles and shit. Maybe he's the haunted one. Oh, come on, he's new and shy. You remember what it was like being the new guy here. He relented and went to grab Reggie. Once we were all in the back room, I pressed play on the video. The first image was the bright pirate-themed interior of Burgers Ahoy. And Doug snorted. They need a mascot too. Let me guess, Mr. Burger, Reggie said to our surprise. We all laughed. Score 1 for the new guy, Jenna said, elbowing his arm. Reggie blushed. Okay, so like I was saying, Paul said on the video, this dude has just been standing by the speaker for 10 minutes. Not moving, not ordering, just standing and looking all old and shit. Another employee at Burgers Ahoy yelled, Oh man, the taco place don't have a ghost. The video was shaky and got worse as Paul zoomed in. Jenna let out an annoyed sigh. Oh, get some basic camera control, will you, Burger Boy? Once the image of our drive-thru came into focus, we all gasped. Sure enough, there was a man standing right next to our drive-thru speaker. He looked just like Paul had said, wearing a long black trench coat and a derby hat. We all jumped when the office phone started ringing again. After the initial scare, we all started laughing. Even Reggie smiled and I picked up. Well, was I lying? Paul asked. No, that's pretty weird. One of you should go check it out, he said. Absolutely not. Not in a million years, dude. What's he saying? Doug asked. He said that somebody should go check it out. Oh my god, Jenna said. Yeah, my thoughts exactly. If you go, you need to record it for my page, Jenna added. Yo, tag me in the description. I'm at the Doug Father too. There were 2 of the Doug Fathers, I asked. Yeah, and that fake Doug Father got 0 bars. Do you want me to go out with you? Paul asked. I'm curious. When did we decide that I was going out? I said into the speaker. You're the boss lady, Doug said. And you're the nicest and the least threatening, Jenna added. I'd skip it, Reggie said. Not worth the trouble. Whatever new guy votes 2-1, you gotta go. I don't get a vote? I asked. Come on, Jill. Can't make the Mas Tacos crew seem like a bunch of babies, Doug said. I'll keep an eye on Jenna. Reggie will keep an eye on Reggie. You keep an eye and, more importantly, the camera on the ghost, Doug said. It's a win-win, girl. I looked up at them and sighed. Paul heard and sighed back. Hey, if it helps, I drew the short straw too, he said. Manager's gotta manage all situations right. I'm just a temporary manager and nowhere does it say that I have to go confront creepy weirdos standing motionless in the drive-thru line. I know, but I keep circling back to what happens at the end of our shifts if this guy is still there. My guess is we both work with some people who aren't dealing from a full deck. Paul confided to me. That's sad. I don't want to see any of them get hurt. Shit, he had me there. I didn't want to see that either. Is the guy still there? He's not showing up on our screens. Julie, is the guy still? Okay. Yeah, he's still there. Meet me in between the restaurants and we'll walk over together. If you try anything, I have mace and I'm not above kicking a guy in the dick. Paul laughed. Save that energy for the ghost guy. We hung up and my crew looked at me and there was genuine excitement in their eyes. I mean, I couldn't blame them. This was easily the most engaging thing that's happened to Mas Tacos since we had introduced the churro shake. Okay, I started. I'm meeting Paul from Burgers Ahoy and we're going to go check on this guy. If anything happens, please call the police and then Mary. Jenna held out her phone. I'm entrusting Sasha to you. Please get good footage. No shaky shit like your burger boy. I took her phone. He's not my burger boy. Maybe you should stay away, Reggie said. Where was this energy earlier? I asked, throwing up my hands. You ever dealt with anything like this before? Reggie asked. Have any of you? Oh shit, are you the little boy from The Sixth Sense? Jenna said. We all laughed, but it was more from nerves than the zinger. I've had some weird shit happen to me before. It could attach itself to you. Don't listen to the new guy, Doug said. This could blow up online. A haunted taco shop, I mean shit. Mr. Taco and Taco Land might become a reality if this hits. Just keep an eye on the monitor, I said. I'll record that so that we can combine videos later, Doug said. He put his two hands together and formed a circle. Symbolic shit, he said with a grin. I think you mean symbiotic, I said, standing near the side door. Whatever English textbook. Go meet a ghost. I walked out into the crisp fall night and felt a chill wrap around my body. I rubbed my arms with my hands and thought about anything warm. As I took a few steps away from the restaurant, the smell of burnt hair stung my nostrils. I gave my outfit a quick sniff, but it wasn't me. Before I could explore further, I caught my first glimpse of Paul heading over. He was a lanky boy with swept-over brown hair. He had on an old faded hoodie that clung to his body. Paul had a baby face, but I didn't hate it. From this distance, I enjoyed the view. Paul clocked me and gave me a small and friendly wave. I waved back and walked over to him. He was cute in an aw shucks kind of way. I dug him. Maybe there was a silver lining to all this nonsense after all. Hey, sorry if this ruins your night, he said, but it was really freaking us out. No, it's okay. How often do you get to see a ghost up close? Hey, it may not be a ghost, Paul offered. We can't see him on our cameras. Well, we don't have to get that close. Let's confirm that he's there and then head back. And then what? He shrugged. I don't know, call Ghostbusters? I laughed. I have a proton pack in my car if things get crazy. Just don't cross the streams, huh? That cemented my little growing crush. I might have to stop by Burgers Ahoy more often. In fact, I might be the only customer that they have that entire day. We made our way over to the side of our building and started inching along the wall. We passed the second drive-thru window and I peeked inside. Jenna, Doug, and Reggie were watching me on the security cameras. I remembered to pull up Jenna's camera and press record. I aimed it at Paul. "Paul, do you have anything to say before we encountered the dead?" "Yes, Jill. Please buy me a churro shake after this, for my troubles." I laughed. "Hey, if we survive, I'll give you one free of charge." "I don't think Mr. Adamian will appreciate you giving stuff away. I gave a homeless guy an unpicked up DoorDash order once, and he threatened to fire me." I stopped walking. "Wait, Mr. Adamian owns Burger Ahoy and Mas Tacos. That man sure knows how to pick 'em. Hey, we all have our faults. Me, I like bad horror movies. Mr. Adamian, the man loves failing fast food franchises. Maybe the Bank of Chester is funding his addiction. Where is Chester anyway? I thought it was a person," I said excitedly. Before we could continue our back and forth, an electric popping sound filled our ears and the entire strip lost power, plunging us into darkness. Out of instinct, I leaned against the building trying to hide. Paul joined me in hugging the wall. "What the hell?" he whispered. I don't know." And then 3 loud bangs. Somebody beat on the glass of the drive-thru window. I let out a scared yelp before I reached my hands up and snatched it back into my throat. Somebody pulled open the window. It was Doug. "Doug, what the hell?" "Hey, Jill, the power went out." "I know, you scared the hell out of me." "We saw the ghost. It looked just like your burger boy said it did." Jenna yelled from behind him. "Burger boy," Paul said. I ignored him. "Where did you see it?" "On the drive-thru screen. He looked at us before the power went out." "What?" "Yeah, he looked pissed off," Doug unhelpfully added. "Oh, fantastic," I whispered. "Is everybody okay?" "I'm chillin'. Jenna was freaking out, but she's okay." "What about Reggie?" "Huh, yo, Reg the sledge, you feeling okay?" Reggie didn't respond. Doug yelled again, but the result was the same. My team had lost a team member in the 10 minutes that I was away from them. Mary's job is so much harder than it seems. I sighed. "Where did he go?" Maybe we should head back," Paul started. But the ka-ching of the drive-thru menu lights returning to life cut him off. They were the only lights that came back on. We cheated off the wall and craned our necks towards the light like moss looking for a fix. Our jaws dropped. Reggie was standing there. "Reggie, what are you doing?" They're back," he said, his voice trembling. I can't move." The lights went out again. Everything around us went still. The smell of burnt hair filled the surrounding air. I twisted around to see if there was something behind us, but I only saw Doug and Jenna fighting for window space. I turned back to a very confused Paul. "Do you smell?" A booming bass ran down on us. Time stood still. I felt the push from the sound wave ripple across my body. The force caused me to stumble to one knee. I clamped my hands on my ears to block out the bellowing, but it was in vain. I felt my eardrums vibrate and begin squealing. This wasn't like anything that I had ever heard before. The drive-thru menu lights exploded, shooting glass shards at a terrified and exposed Reggie. He raised his hands to block the glass. In the last flashes of light, I saw jagged red cuts open up on his pale white skin. With that, we were in the dark again. Through my hand-muffed ears, I heard a high-pitched jolt of sound blow out and shatter every piece of glass in a 20-foot radius. The Mas Tacos drive-thru window cracked into 3 large pieces and fell to the ground. It shattered into glass rubble. With the barrier to the restaurant gone, I clearly heard Jenna's horrified screams. Doug was yelling something, but the Sky's soundtrack made it impossible to hear. I shut my eyes. Mary had never warned me about this. The rumbling from the sky was so intense, I felt my bones rattle and my innards quake. I let out a scream that my ancestors could hear. It too became lost to the soundscape. Seconds later, the booming call from the gods came to a rapid crescendo before dropping out completely. There wasn't even an echo. The only noise that I heard was the last remnants of my throat-cracking scream. My voice finally died out and I collapsed onto the ground. I couldn't find my breath and panic quickly set in. In a flash, I sat up and gasped for air like a dying goldfish. When I finally captured my foe, I took a second and took several huge gulps. Once I had avoided death, I threw up my dinner. I remember seeing an ant near the pile and thinking, well dude, that should set you up for the whole year. When I finally got my wits about me, I pushed up and got to my unsteady feet. I noticed that Paul had also collapsed to the ground. He slowly stood up and shook away the cobwebs. It didn't work. His eyes looked wild and shock froze his face. His mind had cracked like a tree zapped with lightning. He was trapped under the trunk. Panic was setting in. I reached out and grabbed his hand. It was clammy and cold in my grip. We locked eyes and I started speaking, but nothing came out. My voice was shot. I coughed to clear my throat. Nothing happened at first, but when my body remembered to make saliva, it cleared up the alphabet jam in my mouth. "We're alive," I croaked out as I grabbed his shoulders. "I'm here and we're alive." His eyelids lowered and you could see that his body was purging the fear from his system. Beads of sweat covered his face, and he wiped his brow with the back of his free hand. Both hands were shaking. I remembered that I was still holding him, but instead of letting go, I gave him a slight squeeze, reminding him that he wasn't alone. I found it calming as well, a human connection in an alien world. Doug's screaming finally broke through. I turned back to see him frantically pointing at the sky. I looked up and saw a kaleidoscope of bright, colorful lights shifting and swirling above us. It was mesmerizing. It reminded me of how paint meets water, darkening and swirling, no pattern to follow. Jenna was screaming as well. Without hearing her words, I knew what she wanted. I reached around me and found her phone. I hit record and I aimed it up at the sky. Her screen captured the electric northern lights as they danced above us. There wasn't a single sound emanating from this craft. It just hovered in the sky and showed us the most incredible Christmas light display that any of us had ever seen. "This must be what you see before you die," I said out loud, but not meaning to. "One can hope," Paul answered, mesmerized. I realized that we were still holding hands. I glanced over at Paul and noticed blotches of red on his face. It wasn't bloody cuts like Reggie had sustained, but more like a sunburn. "Oh shit, Reggie, where was he? Reggie!" I screamed. No response. I ran over to where he had been standing, once again catching a whiff of something burning. Hair or some chemical. A horrid thought filled my brain. Is that Paul's skin burning or my own? From behind me, I heard Paul walk over. When I got to the drive-thru speaker, there was no sight of Reggie, but the smell of burnt hair hung heavy in the air. I waved it away from my face and called out to him again. "Reggie!" He wasn't there. "Where did he go?" Paul asked, joining me. They must have taken him." "Who's they and what the hell is going on?" "Yo, behind you!" Doug yelled from the window. In the shadows of the drive-thru landscaping, we saw 3 figures crouched in the darkness of the nearby bushes. The burnt hair smell wafted heavily from their direction. They didn't move an inch, even after Doug had outed them. Paul took a nervous step back. "This shit ain't worth 12 an hour." I reached back and grabbed his arm, cementing him in place. "You can't leave me here." A crinkling sound emerged from the bushes. A rhythmic clicking answered the crinkles. 2 of the figures in the bushes moved slightly. The crinkling and clicking became more rapid, almost as if these 2 things were arguing. And then they went quiet again. The bushes shook and the silent third figure walked out. My eyes caught the growing intensity of the busted drive-thru light bulbs re-illuminating. They were back from the dead. The shattered filament emitters provided enough light to expose what this thing really looked like. It was the Derby Man. Up close, what we had assumed had been a ghost was in truth an actual creature. It appeared to be a man from the 1930s, but it was impossible to distinguish any specific facial features. It was an unfinished drawing. From afar, it was a person. Up close, though, that melted away. It hit the right note, sure, but the song was off. At that moment, the idea of the uncanny valley came crashing into my frontal cortex. We fear things that look like us but aren't us. This thing wasn't us, not at all. Paul reached for my hand and found it. We didn't move, hell, we hardly breathed. The Derby Man took another step toward us. The closer he got, the more abnormal he looked. His face shared the same swirling watercolor paint that we saw in the sky. I remember thinking, why was he dressed like Philip Marlowe? In a flash, I wondered if the last time these things were here was during that era. His clothing would have blended in then, but now it made him stand out. He came back assuming that he could mimic us and discovered that we had changed. "The hell is this?" Paul asked, his voice wavering. He tightened his grip. The thing before us chittered and crinkled as if it was responding in a tongue that neither of us knew. It took a step toward Paul and I felt his body brace to run. I squeezed his hand, a subtle reminder that we were attached. "Don't make any sudden movements," I cautioned. "We don't know what they want." The Derby Man stood in front of Paul. It looked him up and down. It reached into the pockets of the trench coat and pulled out a small handheld device. At first blush, we both thought that it was a weapon, but then a puff of smoke burst out and settled around us. It smelled like burnt hair and freshly cooked donuts. At any other time, these two concurrent smells would repulse anyone, but at this moment they smelled amazing. My body relaxed. The tips of my fingers and toes went numb. I had to remember to squeeze Jenna's phone tighter, else I would have dropped it. Oh my god, I still had her phone. And it was still recording. I swallowed hard and tried to not let on that I was doing anything clandestine. I wasn't sure what I had captured up to this point, but I knew that Jenna's follower count was about to swell like a tick on a sleeping dog. The creature twisted its hand and a glass lens appeared. The Derby Man punched a few buttons and a red horizontal laser shot out the front. Paul flinched, but he stayed put. The laser scanned him from head to toe and then winked out. The Derby Man crinkled, chittered, and clicked at us. Maybe it said something profound, but I'll never know. It sounded like birds in the woods to me. Seconds later, the Derby Man shook as if seizures gripped his body. It ripped off the clothes that it had been wearing. Its body wasn't human, he was like a Ken doll. Paul and I both took a few steps back, wondering if this thing was going to explode. Would it attack? Kidnap us like it had Reggie? But instead, the tearing of flesh filled the air. Ribs opened up across the watery painted face and down his human-looking skin. Blood spurt from burst open veins. And that's when it hit me. It was shedding. The husk landed on the cement with a wet slap. Seconds later, the lump of blobby skin dissolved into nothing. We turned our attention back to the creature. The bloody pulp moved around and a new form emerged from the ether. And it looked exactly like Paul. The thing chittered again, his voice had deepened. They pressed another button and the musky donut smell had dissipated. My mind cleared and the terror that I had been feeling rushed into the void. The two beings that had been hiding in the bushes emerged. One looked strikingly like Reggie, the other like me. My body went liquid and I started to faint. I stumbled, but Paul caught me before I split my head open on the road. The two human puppets joined their pal in front of us. The smell of burnt hair was overwhelming. They clicked and chittered for a minute before another ear-splitting boom erupted above our heads. A flash of white light above us was so intense that it made our little section of the strip mall look like noon. I shut my eyes and covered my ears again. The ringing boom ended as quickly as it had begun. I opened my eyes and beheld a new world. It looked like ours but felt changed. Uncanny Valley, I thought. I had laid eyes on something I wasn't supposed to see, and I felt like I was waking from a long and detailed dream. The figures were gone. A naked and befuddled Reggie was in their place. He didn't look injured, save for many minor cuts on his arms and face. I noticed an intricate pattern of 7 triangles across his thigh. At a glance, I thought it was a tribal tattoo, but then I clocked that they were scars. 6 were old, but the 7th was oozing blood. It clicked in that moment that Reggie had seen these guys before. He had tried to tell me earlier, but I wasn't hearing what he had been saying. I ran to him and shook him. His eyes fluttered open and he looked at me in a haze. "Are you okay?" I asked. "It happened again, didn't it?" Though Paul was struggling with what had happened, he had enough sense to peel off his hoodie and hand it to Reggie. "You look cold." Reggie thanked him and put it on. "I'm sorry that I brought this on to you all. What happened? They always come back." Jenna and Doug burst out of the door and rushed over to us. They were both jabbering, but it came at us as another wave of noise. Over it, I heard Doug rambling through all the things that we had just experienced, and Jenna began begging for her phone. I felt it in my hand, and without thinking, I handed it to her. "What the hell?" she said. "What?" I finally asked. "Nothing's recorded. It shows a file but says that it's corrupted." "Yeah, they do that," Reggie said. "I've never been able to capture them." "Well, that sucks," Jenna said. I gave her a look and she softened. "Sorry, Reggie, here. I grabbed you a towel." We only had hand towels. It didn't cover everything but the important bits. We helped him up off the ground and formed a little wall around him to give him some privacy. "Oh shit," Doug said. "What the hell happened here?" He was staring at the bank of Chester. A thick layer of raised black soot decorated the bricks. The soot formed the same pattern that was marked on Reggie's thigh. The spaces between the pattern appeared washed out, as if the sun had faded the stone. "Mr. Adamyan is going to be pissed," Doug said. The fury at what Mr. Adamyan might think was the last thing on my mind. Doug approached the wall to touch the soot, but a stern yelp from Jenna stopped him in his tracks. "What if it's poisonous, you idiot?" "True," he said sheepishly. They helped escort Reggie back into the restaurant. Paul and I stared at each other. There was so much to say, but the words couldn't find the way out. Eventually, I did find my voice. "So it wasn't a ghost," he laughed. "And don't have to worry about making that call to Egon now. Oh, just the men in black, I suppose." "Are you okay?" he asked. "Not really. You?" "No, I think I'm gonna close the store early." "Same," I said. "Do you want to talk about this over coffee?" "I was thinking a stiff drink, or maybe 10. I laughed. "Know a place?" "Yeah, I'll text you the address," he said. "I should get back and see how my people are doing." "Burgers ahoy," I said, instantly regretting it. "Burgers ahoy," he repeated with a small smile. He gave me a little wave as he laughed. I walked back towards Ma's Tacos and started laughing. Not because anything was funny, far from it, but because my mind and body didn't know how to respond to so much simultaneous stimuli. It was a mess for sure, and I dreaded the future conversations with Mary about what had gone down tonight. But I was moving forward, and that's all that I could ask of myself at the moment. There would be a realization, tears, and nightmares later, but I wasn't letting that get to me. I was in survival mode. Keep marching. Work now, cry later. The smell of burnt hair filled my nostrils again. I turned back and I scanned the shadows, but nothing stood out. I listened for either chittering or clicking, and I heard neither. In my gut, I knew they were still here, watching and waiting, taking stock of us. How had we responded? Would we fight them? Which of us would be the next Reggie? This is an ad by BetterHelp. These days, it feels like there's advice for everything. Cold plunges, gratitude journals, screen detoxes. But how do you know what actually works for you? There are so many options and opinions out there that it's easy to feel overwhelmed and stressed out. I've given therapy a shot, and it's really helped me learn to open up and not keep my issues bottled up inside. And overall, I feel much better. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. And it works, with an App Store rating of 4.9 out of 5, based on over 1.7 million client reviews. And it's convenient too. You can join a session with a therapist at the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, switch therapists at any time. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/MrCreeps. That's better, HELP.com/MrCreeps. Looking back, I should have known that something was wrong from the start. But when you're 22 with mounting student debt and 3 roommates who party more than they pay rent, you don't question a job that pays above a minimum wage, especially not when the manager, a tall woman with unnaturally white teeth named Loretta, hires you on the spot despite your total lack of fast food experience. "We need someone for the overnight shift," she had said, not quite meeting my eyes. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Most college kids can't handle it, but you seem different. The way she said different made my skin crawl, but I smiled and nodded like an idiot. Different was good in job interviews, right? "Perfect, you start tomorrow night." She slid the paperwork across the desk. "Just one thing, Thalia. The overnight crew keeps to themselves. They're particular. Just follow their lead and you'll be fine." I should have asked what she meant. I should have noticed how her hands trembled as she handed me my uniform. But all I saw were dollar signs and the possibility of finally paying my phone bill without having to choose between that and getting groceries. The first night started normally enough. The day crew cleared out quickly, almost frantically, as the clock approached 11 p.m. My trainer was a sallow-faced guy named Michael, who looked like he hadn't seen sunlight in years. His skin had a grayish tint that I attributed to the fluorescent lighting, and his eyes were deeply sunken. "The evening shift leaves at 10:45, not 11, he said flatly. "They know better than to stick around during the changeover." "Changeover? When we take over," he replied as if that explained everything. "Let me show you the stations." The tour was brief and utilitarian. Grill station, fryer station, drive-thru register. A standard Mickey D's layout. But Michael kept looking at his watch, rushing through instructions until we had reached the back hallway. "Bathrooms here, employee locker room there, break room, and this." He gestured to a reinforced metal door that I had never seen in any other McDonald's. "Is the freezer. We don't go in there at night. Ever." Before I could ask why, another employee had emerged from the break room. She was petite with hair so black it seemed to absorb the light, cropped into a severe bob. "This the new girl?" she asked, looking me up and down with undisguised suspicion. "Yep, Dahlia, meet Vanessa. She runs the front counter overnight." Vanessa nodded curtly. "Loretta hired you directly for nights." "Yeah, I interviewed yesterday and—" "Yeah, figures," she interrupted. "Did Michael explain the rules yet?" Michael checked his watch again and grimaced. "No time, it's 10:58. Places, everyone." Vanessa grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in with surprising strength. "Listen carefully. Never go into the freezer at night. Never let anybody in after 3:13 in the morning, no matter what they say. Always answer the drive-thru on the first buzz. If somebody orders a meal that's not on the menu, just make it anyway. And for God's sake, if you hear knocking from inside the bathroom stalls, don't answer." My nervous laugh died in my throat when I saw her expression. "Wait, you're serious?" "I'm dead serious. People who don't follow the rules don't last." She released my arm and headed toward the front counter. I turned to ask Michael more questions, but he was already at the drive-thru, headset on, staring intently at the empty lot outside. So this was some kind of hazing ritual for the new girl. Fine, I could play along. College orientation had been worse. The first hour passed uneventfully. We had a few late-night customers, truckers mostly, ordering coffee and egg McMuffins that Michael prepared with mechanical efficiency. I worked the register, following Vanessa's lead. She barely spoke, only responding to customers, and even then in clipped and rehearsed phrases. At midnight, the flow of customers had stopped abruptly. 1 minute the drive-thru had 3 vehicles waiting, the next, nothing. Vanessa checked her watch. "The midnight lull," she said. "Good time for a bathroom break if you need it." I didn't, but something in her tone made me think that I should take the opportunity. "Sure, back in a minute." The employee restroom was surprisingly clean for a fast food joint, but freezing cold. My breath fogged in front of me despite the May heat outside. As I washed my hands, I noticed the corner of a paper sticking out from behind the paper towel dispenser. Curious, I tugged it free. It was a sheet torn from a notebook, the edges frayed and stained with what I had hoped was ketchup. In neat, precise handwriting, someone had listed 5 rules. Rule number 1. Never enter the walk-in freezer between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. Rule number 2. No customers inside the restaurant after 3:13. Rule number 3. Answer the drive-thru in 1 buzz. Rule number 4. Make any order exactly as requested, even if it's not on the menu. Rule number 5. If you hear knocking from inside a bathroom stall, ignore it. If you hear your name, run. At the bottom in different handwriting. Please believe these, I didn't. Loretta lied about the turnover rate. I stared at the paper, heart suddenly pounding. It was identical to what Vanessa had told me, but seeing it written down with that desperate plea made it feel less like a prank and more like a warning. Had previous employees left this? A sharp rap on the door made me jump. "Talia, you okay in there?" It was Michael. I shoved the paper into my pocket. "Yeah, coming." When I returned, something had changed. The restaurant felt colder, the lights dimmer somehow. Vanessa stood rigidly at the counter, staring out at the front doors. Michael was back at the drive-thru, but his posture was tense, alert. "Everything normal?" Vanessa asked, eyeing me. "Sure," I lied. "Why wouldn't it be?" "Good. Take over from Michael at the drive-thru. He needs to prep more meat." I tried not to show my confusion. We hadn't had an order in 20 minutes and the holding trays were full. But I nodded and took the headset from Michael. His fingers were ice cold when they brushed mine. "Remember," he whispered, First buzz. The drive-thru remained quiet until 1:27 a.m. I know the exact time because I had been checking the clock every few minutes, watching the seconds tick by in the dim glow of the monitor. When the buzzer finally sounded, I nearly leapt out of my skin but managed to hit the response button immediately. "Welcome to McDonald's, can I take your order?" Silence. Static crackled through the headset, and then a voice, low and wet, like somebody speaking through a mouthful of liquid.
McRib.
I froze. The McRib was seasonal and definitely not on the current menu, but I remembered Rule 4 and swallowed hard. "One McRib, anything else?" More static, and then,
"No bun. Raw. With extra sauce."
my stomach turned. "One McRib, no bun, raw, extra sauce, anything else?"
"Hurry."
I relayed the order to Michael, who nodded grimly and disappeared into the back without comment. When he returned, he carried a tray with what looked like raw meat slathered in dark sauce. I couldn't bring myself to look too closely. "Drive to the second window," I instructed, and the vehicle, an ancient station wagon with windows so darkly tinted that they seemed to swallow up the light, it crept forward. When it reached the window, I saw the driver was wearing some kind of mask or hood that obscured their face entirely. Gloved hands extended from the window, palms up, waiting. Michael reached past me and handed over the tray. The driver made a sound, not quite a thank you, more like a wet gurgle, and drove off without paying. "Did they?" I began. "Night regulars don't pay," Vanessa called from the front. "Store policy." I wanted to argue that no such policy could possibly exist, but the look that Michael gave me, equal parts warning and fear, kept me silent. The next order came at 2:15. This one was for bone meal and salt, deep fried, with a large coffee, black. Again, Michael prepared it without question, producing a paper bag filled with what looked like breaded white pebbles. The customer, a tall and thin figure on foot at the drive-thru window, whose face I couldn't see beneath a wide-brimmed hat, tapped the glass 3 times before taking the order and melting into the darkness beyond the parking lot lights. By 3 a.m., I was fighting the urge to grab my things and run. The only thing stopping me was the growing certainty that whatever rules govern this place, breaking them would be worse than enduring my shift. "Almost closing time," Vanessa announced, checking her watch. "Closing? I thought we were 24/7. Michael and Vanessa exchanged glances. "Inside dining closes at 3:13, Michael explained carefully. "The drive-thru stays open." "That's an odd time," I said, trying to keep my voice casual. "It's precisely when we need to be locked up," Vanessa replied. She moved to the front door and hovered by the locks. At 3:12, the front door swung open. A man walked in, normal-looking, middle-aged, in a rumpled business suit. He smiled apologetically. "Sorry, I know that you're about to close. I just need a coffee for the road." Vanessa's face drained of what little color it had. Michael stepped back from the drive-thru window, eyes fixed on the clock. 3:12:47. I moved toward the register. "I can help you." Vanessa's hand clamped onto my arm. "No," she hissed. The man's smile widened, showing too many teeth. "I just need a coffee, black, for the road." "We're closed," Vanessa stated flatly, positioning herself between me and the counter. The man tilted his head at an unnatural angle. "The sign says that you close at 3:13. It's only 3:12 and," he checked his watch, 52 seconds. Something was wrong with his movements, jerky and too fluid all at the same time. His eyes never blinked. "Please leave," Michael said, his voice surprisingly steady. "We can't serve you." The man's face contorted, the pleasant expression sliding off like melting wax. "I'm a customer," he said, his voice deepening, resonating oddly in the empty restaurant. "You have to serve me, it's company policy." The clock on the wall read 3:13:01. Vanessa lunged for the door, turning the deadbolt with a decisive click. "We're closed." The man, if he was still a man, slammed his palms against the counter. The impact left dark wet prints on the laminate. "Serve me," he bellowed, his jaw unhinging slightly with each word. "No customers inside after 3:13, Michael recited, backing toward the grill. "Store policy." The man went very still. He stared at us with eyes that had gone completely black, and then smiled again, a horrible, stretching thing that split his face almost to the ears. "New girl doesn't know the rules yet," he said, his voice suddenly gentle and reasonable. He turned to me. "Do you, Thalia?" I felt cold sweat bead on my forehead. I hadn't worn a name tag yet. I hadn't introduced myself. "I know enough," I managed to say, though my voice quivered. The man, the thing, stepped toward me, movements now jerky like a marionette with tangled strings. "Do you know what happened to the last person who worked here? Before you?" Vanessa made a cutting motion across her throat, warning me not to engage. The thing that had been a man was only feet away now. This close, I could smell it, like meat left too long in the sun, like spoiled milk and pennies. "She didn't follow the rules," it continued conversationally. "She let me in at 3:14. She made an exception just once." Michael had vanished into the back. Vanessa remained frozen by the door. "What happened to her?" I whispered despite myself. The thing grinned wider, jaw dislocating further with an audible pop. "Why don't you ask her yourself? She's still here." It gestured toward the bathroom. A cold, horrifying realization dawned on me. The knocking from the stalls, that desperate note. The thing's form shuddered and rippled. For just an instant, I saw something else beneath the business suit. Something with too many limbs folded wrong. And then Michael was beside me, fire extinguisher in hand. He pulled the pin and unleashed a cloud of white powder directly into the thing's face. It shrieked to sound like metal grinding on metal, and it staggered backward. "Drive-thru," Vanessa shouted, already moving toward the back exit. "Out, now." I didn't need to be told twice. I ran, following Michael through the drive-thru window that he had opened fully. We tumbled onto the pavement outside just as the lights inside the restaurant flickered violently. From within came an inhuman wail of frustration, and then silence. We huddled by Vanessa's car, watching the restaurant through the pre-dawn darkness. For 20 minutes, nothing moved inside. Finally, Michael spoke. "It can't come out until somebody lets it out. Restaurant rules work both ways at night." What was that? What is this place? My voice sounded distant and detached, like it belonged to someone else. Vanessa lit a cigarette with trembling hands. "Just a McDonald's during the day. At night, well, something else uses it." "Uses it for what?" "Feeding," Michael said simply. "Different kinds of hunger." Vanessa checked her watch. "We have to go back in. Shift isn't over until 7. "You're insane," I whispered. "I'm calling the police." "Go ahead," Vanessa said, exhaling smoke. "They've been called before. By 7 a.m. there's nothing to see, just a normal McDonald's with normal employees. They think that you're crazy or on drugs." "What about the cameras?" They don't record at night, Michael finished. Or rather, they record nothing but static. Look, you can leave if you want, but breaking your contract has consequences. Like what? Neither of them answered. But Vanessa touched the collar of her uniform shirt, briefly pulling it aside to reveal a twisted, burn-like scar in the shape of a stylized M. Your choice, she said. But if you leave, don't come back. Not even during daylight. I should have run. Any sane person would have. But the loans, my rent, the complete lack of any other job prospects in this economy, they all flashed through my mind. And beneath that, a horrible curiosity stirred. What else would I see in this place? What other rules were there to find? Fine, I said, hugging myself against the pre-dawn chill. But I want to know everything. All the rules, not just the basic 5. Michael and Vanessa looked at each other. The 5 main rules will keep you alive, Michael said. The rest, you learn as you go. We re-entered through the back door at 3:45 a.m. The inside of the restaurant looked untouched. The only evidence of our encounter was the locked front door and the lingering smell of rot that faded with each passing minute. The rest of the night brought more strange drive-thru orders from customers that weren't quite human. One ordered fresh tendon, still warm, that Michael prepared by retrieving a package from a special compartment under the grill. Another asked for a strawberry milkshake mixed with something from a vial that they handed over, a viscous red fluid that I refused to believe was blood. At 4:30 in the morning, I needed the bathroom again. Despite everything I had heard, nature called insistently. And don't acknowledge anything you hear in there, Vanessa warned as I headed for the back hallway. And for God's sake, be quick. The bathroom was even colder than before, my breath forming visible clouds in the air. As I washed my hands, I heard it. A soft, tentative knock from inside the third stall. My heart hammered against my ribs. The stall door was closed, but I could see no feet beneath it. 3 knocks. I dried my hands quickly, keeping my eyes on the mirror away from the stalls. The knocking came again, more insistent now. I reached for the door. Talia? A woman's voice, weak and wavering, came from behind the stall door. Please, I know you're there. I need help. My hand froze on the bathroom door handle. I'm the girl who had your job before. Loretta told you that there was high turnover, right? She wasn't lying. Please, they've trapped me in here. Just open the door. I remembered the 5th rule. If you hear your name, run. I yanked open the bathroom door and fled, the voice rising to a scream behind me. Don't leave me here. They'll do the same thing to you, please. The door swung shut, muffling but not silencing the pleas that turned to inhuman shrieks of rage. I collapsed against the wall in the hallway, shaking uncontrollably. Michael found me there minutes later. He helped me to my feet without a word and led me to the break room, where he poured a cup of coffee from a pot that I hadn't seen before. Drink this, he said gently. It helps with the cold they leave behind. The coffee burned going down but spread warmth throughout my chest. What happened to her? I asked. The girl before me. Michael sighed, suddenly looking much older than I had initially thought. She broke the rules, the worst one, which is never ever make a deal with the night manager. I frowned. Night manager, there's only 3 of us. Michael's expression closed off. You haven't met the night manager yet. With luck, you won't have to. I wanted to press for more information, but the drive-thru buzzer sounded. One long, continuous buzz, unlike the normal alert. Michael paled. That's for you. What? When it buzzes like that, it's calling for someone specific. It's calling for you. The buzzer continued, one unbroken drone that set my teeth on edge. I'm not answering that, I said. You have to, Vanessa said from the doorway, her face grave. Rule 3, answer on the first buzz. That's not a customer, though, I protested. You know it's not. Doesn't matter, Michael said. The rules protect us as much as they bind us. Break one end. The unsaid conclusion hung in the air. I thought of the voice in the bathroom stall, the girl who had had my job before. With leaden legs, I walked to the drive-thru station and put on the headset. The buzzing stopped instantly. Oh, welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order?
Thalia.
The voice was like broken glass wrapped in velvet, somehow both grating and smooth.
How are you enjoying your first night?
I swallowed hard. Can I take your order? A low chuckle.
So professional. I'm not here to order, I'm here to introduce myself. I'm Norris, the night manager.
Through the drive-thru window, I could see nothing but darkness where a vehicle should be. Yet the voice came through crystal clear. Loretta mentioned you. I lied, trying to sound casual. Said you handle the overnight operations.
Oh, did she? How thoughtful. And did she mention our special menu items? The ones only available during my hours?
No, but I've been learning on the job. Another chuckle.
I'm sure you have. You're doing well so far, better than your predecessor. She was unwilling to adapt.
My throat tightened. Is that why she's in the bathroom now? The silence stretched for several seconds.
You're more perceptive than I expected.
Norris finally replied, a voice harder.
Yes, she made some poor choices. She decided the rules that didn't apply to her, that there would be no consequences.
What did she do?
She let somebody in after hours, someone that I had been waiting for. She disrupted the balance.
I thought of the desperate note behind the paper towel dispenser. And now she's trapped.
Not trapped.
Norris corrected.
Transformed. She's becoming something new, something that belongs to the night shift permanently.
Bile rose in my throat. What do you want from me?
For now, just obedience. Follow the rules, do your job, serve the customers that I send you.
And if I don't, I challenged, fear making me reckless. The temperature around me plummeted. My breath clouded heavily in front of me. Through the window, I thought that I saw something move in the darkness. A tall, thin shape with too many angles.
Well, then you'll join Eliza.
Norris said softly.
They'll all put you somewhere worse than a bathroom stall. Perhaps the freezer. Would you like that, Thalia? To become a part of our special menu.
Before I could even respond, the connection cut off. The drive-thru area warmed gradually back to a normal temperature. Vanessa appeared at my side, her face ashen. You spoke to him. It wasn't a question. Is he human? I asked. Was, maybe, once. She took the headset from me gently. Most of us think that he's what happens when you work the night shift for too long, when you let the darkness in. How long have you been working here? She didn't meet my eyes. 3 years. And Michael, 5. I stared at her. How is that possible? Norris made it sound like most people don't last. They don't, she admitted, but some of us adapt. She rolled up her sleeve slowly. In the harsh light, her skin had an almost translucent quality. The veins beneath were dark, almost black. Once you're marked, you belong to the night shift, she said, rolling her sleeve back down. You can't work anywhere else, can't quit, can barely function in the daylight. That's insane, I whispered. Why would anybody agree to that? The pay increases every month that you survive, Michael said, joining us, significantly. After a year, you're making more than most people with master's degrees. After 3, he gestured at Vanessa. Well, Vanessa owns 3 houses now, all paid off. Vanessa's bitter laugh held no humor. Yeah, a fat lot of good they do me. I can only leave this place between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. before the sunlight becomes too painful. I sleep all day in a basement apartment with blackout curtains. But the money, it's a cage made of gold, she snapped. You'll understand soon enough. The rest of the shift passed in tense silence. The unusual orders continued. A Happy Meal with the toy replaced by a small cloth doll that seemed to twitch in my hands. A cup of ice that steamed and hissed when handed over. A bag of fries that Michael prepared by placing an empty container under the heat lamp for exactly 7 minutes and 13 seconds, after which it was somehow full. At 6:30 a.m., Michael began the opening preparations. Vanessa counted the register, though I hadn't seen a single customer pay all night. A day crew arrives at 6:55, she informed me. We'll be gone before they enter. No interaction between chefs, that's another rule. But my car... Take the bus today, Michael advised. Come back for your car this evening before your shift starts. At exactly 6:54, we exited through the back door. Dawn was breaking, the sky lightening to a pale gray. Vanessa winced and put on dark sunglasses despite the dim light. You survived night 1, Michael said, attempting a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Congrats. Do I come back tonight? I asked, realizing that I didn't know the schedule. Well, that depends, Vanessa said, already walking briskly toward a bus stop. Did Norris say your name 3 times? I thought back to the conversation. No, just once. Then you're expected back, Michael confirmed. 10:45 p.m., not a minute later. And if I don't show up? His expression darkened. Don't test that theory. I spent the day in a daze, alternating between convincing myself that I had imagined everything and panicking about returning. I called in sick to my morning class, slept fitfully for a few hours, and dreaded returning to work that night. But by 10:30 p.m., I was sitting in my car in the parking lot, debating whether to drive away and never look back. But the memory of Vanessa's scar and the voice from the bathroom stall kept me frozen in indecision until I saw Michael and Vanessa arrive. They nodded to me as if nothing unusual had happened the night before, as if we worked at a completely normal McDonald's. I followed them inside just as the evening crew was finishing cleanup. The evening manager, a balding man who refused to make eye contact with any of us, briefed Michael quickly on inventory and practically ran for the exit at 10:44. So you're ready for night 2? Michael asked, handing me a headset. No, I wasn't ready. I would never be ready. But I nodded anyway and took my position at the drive-thru. The shift began much like the previous night. Strange orders from strange customers that we fulfilled without question. At 1 a.m., something banged on the locked front door. A tall, emaciated figure in a trench coat that hung oddly on its frame. Vanessa pretended not to hear despite the increasingly violent impacts that should have shattered the glass. At 2:15 a.m., a new type of customer appeared at the drive-thru window. Normal looking at first glance, a middle-aged woman in a sedan. But when she turned to take her order, a cheeseburger with the meat removed and replaced with something Michael had retrieved from the back. Her face was completely smooth where eyes should have been. Through it all, I bit back my questions and followed instructions, focusing on surviving until 7 a.m. At 3, we prepared for the incoming lockdown. Michael pulled me aside. There's something else that you should know. Something about tonight specifically. What? I asked, dread pooling in my stomach. The night manager makes rounds on the second night, inspects new employees. Inspects? What does that mean? Before he could answer, the freezer door, the one that we were never supposed to open at night, creaked. Vanessa's head snapped up from where she was cleaning the front counter. It's starting. Places, everyone. The freezer door swung open slowly, releasing a cloud of frigid air that smelled of metal and raw meat. From within the mist stepped a figure so tall that it had a duck through the doorway. Norris, the night manager. He wore a McDonald's uniform that might have been normal once but now seemed constructed of shadows more than fabric. His name tag gleamed in the light. Norris, night manager, serving since 1955. But it was his face that made my heart stutter. It was almost human, handsome even, in a sharp, angular way except for the eyes. They were solid white, pupilless, and seemed to reflect light rather than absorb it. Good evening, team, he said, his voice that same broken glass smoothness that I had heard through the headset. How are the night specials moving? Steady demand, Michael reported stiffly. No issues. Norris smiled, revealing teeth too numerous and pointed to be human. Excellent. And our new team member, Talia, yes? I managed a jerky nod, unable to form words. He approached, moving with an unsettling fluidity, as if his joints worked differently than human anatomy had allowed. Up close, his skin had a waxy quality, too perfect and smooth. I always personally evaluate new hires on their second night, he said, circling me slowly, to ensure they're suitable for our unique working environment. I could feel cold radiating from him, like standing next to an open freezer. She's doing well, Vanessa offered quickly, a fast learner. Norris's white eyes flickered to Vanessa briefly. I'm sure she is, but the evaluation has protocols. He reached into his pocket and withdrew what looked like a standard McDonald's order pad, but when he opened it, the pages were covered in symbols I didn't recognize, twisting and squirming marks that hurt my eyes to look at directly. Just a few questions. First, have you told anyone about your experiences here? No, I answered truthfully. Do you intend to? I hesitated and his white eyes narrowed. No, I lied. Who would believe me anyway? He smiled again, the expression never reaching those horrible eyes. Indeed, who would? Next question. Are you willing to serve all customers according to their needs without judgment or question? The image of the smooth-faced woman flashed in my mind, along with all the other not-quite-human customers that we had served. Yes, I said, the lie coming easier this time. Even if their needs conflict with your moral sensibilities. I swallowed hard. What do you mean? Norris's smile widened impossibly. Some of our customers have special dietary requirements. Requirements that might seem unorthodox to someone with conventional ethics. My blood ran cold as I remembered the raw McRib, the steaming ice, the Happy Meal with the twitching doll. I follow the menu, I said carefully, whatever that includes. He nodded approvingly. Final question, and this one requires absolute honesty. He leaned closer, his cold breath washing over my face. Do you fear me? The question hung in the air between us. Michael and Vanessa had gone completely still, watching the exchange with undisguised attention. Truth or lie, which would keep me alive until morning? Yes, I whispered, deciding honesty was my only option. I do. Norris held my gaze for an endless moment, and then threw back his head and laughed, a sound like ice cracking over a frozen lake. Good, he exclaimed. Fear is appropriate. Fear is respectful. It's the ones who don't fear me that make unfortunate decisions. He snapped the order pad closed and returned it to his pocket. You passed the preliminary evaluation. Now for the practical portion. Practical? I echoed weakly. Every new hire must demonstrate their commitment to our establishment, he explained. A simple task, really. You'll prepare a special order for me. He gestured toward the grill. Beside it, I now noticed a small door that I hadn't seen before, or perhaps it hadn't existed until now. It was old wood, worn and stained, with a small sliding panel at eye level. In there, Norris instructed, you'll find the ingredients for my meal. Follow the recipe card exactly. No substitutions and no questions. I'll help, Michael offered quickly, stepping forward. But Norris's hand shot out, gripping Michael's shoulder with long and pale fingers. No, she does this alone. That's the test. The small wooden door creaked open on its own. Beyond it, I could see only darkness. You have 15 minutes, Norris said, releasing Michael. Don't disappoint me. My legs moved woodenly toward the door, every instinct screaming at me to run in the opposite direction. But where would I go? What would follow me? I stepped through the doorway and found myself in a space that couldn't possibly fit within the McDonald's floor plan. It was a cramped, windowless kitchen that looked decades old, with rust-stained appliances and yellowed linoleum floors. The walls were covered in a greasy film that glistened in the dim light of a single bare bulb swinging overhead. The door clicked shut behind me with a finality that made my stomach drop. On a butcher block lay a recipe card, yellowed with age and spotted with dark stains. Beside it sat an arrangement of ingredients that made bile rise in my throat. Raw meat of some kind, dark and glistening, a pile of small curved bones, a jar of thick and viscous fluid that moved slightly when I approached it, a loaf of bread that was somehow moldy and perfectly fresh at the same time, and worst of all, a small cloth bundle tied with twine that pulsed rhythmically, like a beating heart. The recipe card bore a McDonald's logo that I had never seen before, older with sharper angles, the golden arches looking more like horns. The instructions were handwritten in faded ink. A night manager's special for evaluation purposes only. Combine ingredients in precise order. Speak no words during preparation. What is made here stays here. I got to work. I sliced the meat, arranged the bones into a pattern, poured the fluid in a specific zigzagging line, toasted the bread until it smelled like copper. The cloth bundle was last. The instructions said to place it in the center, untie the twine, and cover it with the remaining fluid. As I reached for it, the pulsing increased in tempo, like it was frightened. My hand trembled as I lifted it. It was warm to the touch and yielded slightly under my fingers. The twine was knotted in an intricate pattern that I had to study for several minutes before unraveling. As the last knot came loose, the cloth fell open, revealing nothing that I could comprehend. My mind simply refused to process what lay in the bundle. It was as if my consciousness had skipped forward, protecting itself. One moment I was untying the bundle, and the next, I was placing the completed meal on a serving tray. The preparation somehow finished, though I had no memory of the final steps. The tray now held what looked superficially like a standard McDonald's meal, a sandwich, fries, and a drink. but the colors were wrong, the textures were off, and when I lifted the tray, the contents shifted in ways that didn't seem right. The door swung open on its own. Norris waited outside, white eyes gleaming with anticipation. Michael and Vanessa stood well back, their expressions a mixture of pity and relief. "Right on time," Norris said, consulting a pocket watch that ticked backwards. "Let's see what you prepared." I held out the tray, desperate to be rid of it. He examined the contents critically, lifting the top of the sandwich to inspect what lay beneath. Something there squirmed. "Excellent knife work. Clean edges, a proper pattern alignment, and you completed the binding without damaging the core. Impressive for a novice." He took the tray from my shaking hands. "You pass. You may continue your employment here." "What did I just make?" I whispered. Norris's smile stretched wider than his face should have allowed. "Nothing you need to concern yourself with. Just another menu item, one that satisfies a very particular hunger." He turned toward the freezer door, which creaked open at his approach. "I'll be conducting periodic evaluations. For now, continue serving our night customers. I have other matters to attend to." "Wait," I called, surprising myself. "What happens during the day here? Is it really just a normal McDonald's?" Norris paused at the freezer threshold. "During the day, this is simply a fast food restaurant. At night, it's something else." He glanced over his shoulder, pupilless eyes reflecting in the light. "Not all franchises are created equal. Some serve different masters." With that strange statement, he stepped into the freezer, the meal in hand. The heavy door swung shut behind him with a definitive thunk. The rest of the night continued with its parade of unsettling customers and strange orders. By the time that daylight approached, I had made a decision. Whatever consequences might come, I couldn't return for a third night. Not after what I had done in that hidden kitchen. As we prepared to leave before the day shift had arrived, I pulled Michael aside. "I can't do this, I'm not coming back," I told him flatly. His face fell. "You can't just quit. You've been marked now." "Marked? What does that mean?" He hesitated and then slowly rolled up his sleeve. Like Vanessa, his veins were darkened, but there was something else. A faint pattern on his skin, similar to the arrangement that I had made with the bones during the food preparation. "Once you prepare food for them, you're connected. The longer you work here, the stronger that connection becomes, and eventually you can't leave. The sunlight burns, and normal food tastes like ash, and you can only find peace in the restaurant during the night." "That's insane. I've only worked 2 shifts. It can't be too late." "It starts immediately," Vanessa said, joining our conversation. "Haven't you noticed you're already turning paler? Your eyes have already changed a little." I grabbed my phone and switched to the camera. My reflection did show subtle but undeniable signs. My skin almost seemed waxy, my eyes a shade lighter, with unusual reflectivity. "No, this can't be happening," I murmured. "It already has," Michael said gently. "But listen, hey, it's not all that bad. The pay really is exceptional. After 6 months, you'll have enough to pay off those loans. After a year, you could buy a house outright." "But at what cost?" I demanded. "Becoming like Norris eventually." Vanessa and Michael looked at each other uncomfortably. "We don't know exactly how he became what he is," Vanessa admitted. "The rumors say that he was the first night shift worker when this relocation rebuilt after a fire. That he made a deal with whatever came through when the new restaurant was constructed over the old foundations. What was here before? Originally, I mean." Michael shrugged. County records say nothing, but the older residents talk about an old slaughterhouse that burned down in the 50s. Supposedly, there was some kind of accident or a ritual that went wrong. The morning light was strengthening outside. Vanessa winced visibly and put on her glasses. "We need to go," she insisted. "Day crew arrives in a minute." As we hurried towards the back exit, I made my final decision. I'm going to find a way out of this. There has to be some way to break the connection. Michael grabbed my arm, his expression deadly serious. "Don't. Others have tried. They either came crawling back, half dead from withdrawal, or they disappeared entirely. And Norris, he takes special interest in those who try to leave." The next night started normally enough, if anything about our shift could be called normal. The same procession of inhuman customers with their strange orders, that same bone-deep cold that pervaded the restaurant after midnight, the lockdown at 3. I waited for my opportunity, volunteering to clean the kitchen while Michael manned the drive-thru and Vanessa handled the front counter. During a slow period at around 4 a.m., I slipped into the back storage, allegedly to restock napkins and straws. The restaurant's emergency protocols were posted on the wall, including the location of fire extinguishers, emergency exits, and the gas shutoff valve. It would be simple enough. Open the gas line, create a spark, and flee before the place went up into flames. Insurance would cover the loss and they would rebuild. And hopefully whatever existed in this place would be gone when they rebuilt it. I found the main gas valve behind a panel near the water heater. With trembling hands, I began to turn it, imagining freedom from this nightmare. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." I whirled around to find Eliza standing behind me, or what remained of her. The woman wore a McDonald's uniform soaked and stained as if she had been submerged in dark liquid. Her skin had the gray pallor of a corpse, and her eyes were completely black, like pools of oil. "You're real. As real as anything here," she replied, her voice carrying the same hollow quality. "And I'm trying to save your life, ironically enough, by stopping me from burning the place down." "Yeah, exactly." She stepped closer, leaving wet footprints on the floor. "You think you're the first one to try. The fire that destroyed the previous restaurant wasn't an accident. It was a worker like you trying to get out. But it worked. They had to rebuild." Eliza's laugh was like water gurgling down a drain. "Oh, it didn't work, it just made it worse. And those who set the fire became the first items on the new menu." A chill ran through me. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying the night manager gets stronger every time somebody tries to destroy this place. Every act of rebellion just feeds it. Breaking the rules doesn't free you. It transforms you into something that serves him eternally. So I'm supposed to just accept this, become like Vanessa and Michael working here until I'm no longer human." She tilted her head, water dripping from her hair. "No, there is another way out, but it requires patience and intelligence, not desperation and fire." "What way?" "Well, the same way you defeat any contract. You find the loophole." She glanced nervously toward the door. "I don't have much time. He lets me move freely only for short periods, usually to discourage new employees from making bad choices." "Tell me," I pleaded. "The rules protect you, but they also bind Norris and the others. They can't hurt you if you follow them exactly. And more importantly, they can't keep you if you fulfill your contract to the letter." "What contract? I never signed anything saying that I would become some kind of night creature." "Well, you did actually." She pointed to my name tag. "Check the back." I unpinned it and turned it over. In small text, barely visible even under the bright storeroom lights, was a paragraph of legal text. Bearer agrees to serve for a period of employment terminating upon fulfillment of night shift requirements or at management discretion. Early termination incurs penalties including but not limited to physical transformation, spiritual binding, or menu inclusion. Contract voidable upon completion of 7 consecutive shifts without rule violations or successfully passing the final evaluation. 7 shifts, I murmured. That's it. Just work a week without breaking rules and I'm free. Her expression darkened. Oh, it's not that simple. The rules change nightly. Norris adds new ones without telling you. And the final evaluation. She shuddered, water sloshing inside her uniform. Only one person has ever passed it in all the years that I've been here. Who? The day manager, Loretta. Why do you think she can come and go freely? She passed the test and fulfilled her contract, earned her freedom, but the cost was high. I remembered Loretta's 2 white teeth and the way she never quite met my eyes. What did she have to do? Oh, I don't know exactly, it's different for everyone, but it always involves a sacrifice, something precious to you, something that ensures you'll never speak of this place even after you're free. The storeroom door creaked. Eliza's form shimmered, becoming less solid. I have to go. He's looking for me. Remember, 7 shifts without breaking rules or past the final evaluation. Don't try to burn this place down. Don't try to run. Just survive. Wait, how do I request the evaluation? You don't. Her voice already fading as her form dissolved into a puddle on the floor. He offers it when he believes you're ready to sacrifice something that matters. The puddle slithered beneath the door just as it opened to reveal Michael. Everything okay in here? He asked, eyes narrowing at the wet spots on the floor. Vanessa said you'd been gone for a while. I stepped away from the gas valve, forcing a neutral expression. Just looking for straws. The dispenser up front is empty. He studied me for a long moment and then nodded toward a shelf. They're over there. Hurry up, we've got a customer. I grabbed a box of straws and followed him back to the front, my mind racing with this new information. A way out existed. Difficult, dangerous, but possible. As 7 a.m. approached and we prepared to leave, I caught Michael alone by the time clock. Is it true about the 7 chefs? He froze. Who told you that? Eliza. His expression shifted from surprise to pity. You shouldn't listen to her, she's not reliable anymore. Being in the bathroom, it's changed her. But is it true? Yes and no. The 7-shift rule exists, but nobody makes it that far without breaking at least one rule. They're designed to be broken eventually. And the final evaluation? A myth. Or if it's real, it's not worth the cost. Loretta took it, and she passed. How do you know that? Eliza told me and it makes sense. Loretta can come and go. She works days and she's free. He leaned close, lowering his voice. Look at Loretta carefully the next time you see her. Really look. Then decide if what she gave up was worth her freedom. On my 4th night, something changed. A new employee arrived. A young man named Devin with curly brown hair and an earnest smile. Loretta had hired him directly for the night shift, just as she had me. She's training you tonight, Michael told Devin, nodding toward me. Talia knows the ropes now. I felt sick. Had I already been here long enough to be trusted with new recruits? Was I becoming like Michael and Vanessa? When we were alone, I gave Devin the real orientation, explaining the 5 main rules in detail, then warning him about Norris, even telling him about these 7-shift escape clause. You believe all this? He asked, his skepticism understandable but dangerous. Yeah, just wait until 3:13, then tell me what you believe. Sure enough, at 3:12 a customer appeared. This time a woman with too many fingers who moved like a stop-motion animation, and Devin watched in horror as she was denied entry, transforming into something inhuman when the clock struck 3:13, and Vanessa locked the door. "Jesus Christ," he whispered after we had escaped through the drive-thru window, huddling in the parking lot until the thing inside tired of throwing itself against the glass. "What is this place?" After that night, Devin became my ally. On my 5th night, Norris had emerged from the freezer for his now familiar inspection, but this time he seemed different, his focus sharpened on me specifically. "You've reached an important milestone. Night 5 of the proving." "The what?" "A test," Vanessa explained later on, after Norris had returned to the freezer. "Everybody who makes it to the 5th night faces it. It determines whether you're worthy of completing the full 7. At 2:22, I received a phone call in the manager's office. Norris's voice, deeper and more resonant than usual, instructed me to go to the 3rd bathroom stall where I would face a choice. Inside the stall, I found not a toilet but a vast, circular chamber with walls made of polished bone. Eliza, more substantial than before, stood beside a small table with 2 items: a McDonald's name badge and a small red toy like those found in Happy Meals. "Choose." The badge binds you permanently to the night shift, granting security and belonging. The toy reveals truths that might help you escape, but at great risk. I studied the items. "Neither," I said firmly, stepping back from the table. "I reject both choices. The 5th rule states that I should ignore anything from bathroom stalls." Eliza went very still, her form flickering. "Clever, very clever, but incomplete. The 5th rule has a second part, doesn't it? If you hear your name, run." As if on cue, my voice called from somewhere in the darkness above. "Talia, is that you down there? Help me, please." I turned and ran toward where the stall door had been, and for a moment I only saw seamless, bone walls surrounding me. But then a door appeared and I slammed through it, tumbling onto the bathroom floor as the stall door swung shut behind me. When I returned to the front, Vanessa and Michael stared at me with shock and grudging respect. "You refused both options," Vanessa said, not quite a question. I nodded. The 5th rule overrode the proving itself. "Brilliant," Michael murmured. "Using the rules against the rulemaker. I never considered that." Before we could discuss any further, Norris appeared, his white eyes gleaming with an emotion that I couldn't identify. "Congrats. Few reach this stage, fewer still by such unconventional means." "I followed the rules." "Indeed you did, more precisely than I anticipated. The final evaluation awaits you tomorrow night. Your 6th shift. Come alone." "What about my 7th? The contract specifies 7 shifts without rule violation." "The final evaluation supersedes that requirement. Pass and your contract is fulfilled regardless of shift count. Fail." His expression left no doubt about the consequences. I arrived at my 6th shift to find the restaurant dark and empty. No Michael, no Vanessa, not even the evening crew cleaning up. Only a single light burned in the manager's office. Inside sat Norris, not in his usual distorted McDonald's uniform but a crisp business suit that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. On the desk before him lay an antique pocket watch, a small silver knife, and a contract printed on parchment-like paper. "The final evaluation," he began once I was seated across from him, "is a sacred tradition, a transition point between servitude and something else." "What exactly am I being evaluated on?" "Your worthiness for freedom. Upon completion, your employment obligations will be fulfilled. You may leave McDonald's permanently with no lingering connection. In exchange for what? His smile widened, showing those too numerous and too sharp teeth. Just a token, something that you value freely given. Like what Loretta gave up, her empathy. Norris's expression shifted subtly. Loretta made her choice. Your sacrifice will be uniquely yours. And if I refuse, then you remain with the night shift forever. What specifically do you want from me? I pressed. What part of myself am I supposed to surrender? Norris set down the knife. Your memories. My memories of what? Of this place, of the night shift, of the true nature that lurks here. He tapped the contract. In exchange for your freedom, you will relinquish all recollection of what transpires here after dark. You will remember working at night, but only as normal chefs at a normal restaurant. It was tempting, more tempting than I wanted to admit. Before I decide, I said carefully, I would like to propose an alternative arrangement. The terms are non-negotiable. Hear me out. You value order above all else, the smooth operation of your establishment. Explain, he demanded, the temperature around us dropping perceptibly. Let me keep my memories my complete self, and in exchange I'll agree to help maintain the boundary, to ensure that those who shouldn't know about this place remain ignorant, to occasionally direct suitable candidates your way for employment. You propose to become an agent rather than a servant. Interesting but insufficient. What prevents you from simply walking away once you're freed? A new rule. A binding as strong as the 5 main rules but voluntary. I propose a Rule 6. Those who leave must maintain the secret, enforceable by the same consequences that govern the other rules. Norris went utterly still. You suggest altering the framework, adding to the binding architecture that governs this place. Such a thing hasn't been done since the beginning. Is it possible? Possible, yes, but it would require more than just my agreement. The authorities above me would need to approve. Well, then ask them. Surely a willing agent is more valuable than another reluctant servant. Norris rose and moved toward the freezer door, which swung open to reveal not a storage compartment, but a swirling vortex in the darkness. I must consult with those above. Wait here. Hours passed before he returned, his form subtly altered, edges blurring slightly as if partially dissolving into the air. It is decided. Your proposal has merit, but the authorities require additional assurance of your commitment. What kind of assurance? A demonstration. He pushed the silver knife across the table toward me. Not memory, but blood. A binding agent stronger than ink. If I do this, I said carefully, I want specific terms. I keep all my memories and I'm free to leave the McDonald's permanently. I can live a normal life in the daylight world. My only obligation is to maintain the secret of what happens here after dark, and to occasionally direct suitable candidates our way. Norris reminded me, we require new employees periodically. The contract now contained a new section outlining Rule 6 and my obligations as a daylight liaison. The original sacrifice clause had been replaced with a blood oath requirement. With trembling fingers, I took the knife and pressed the tip to my index finger, drawing a bead of blood that I touched to the paper. The blood spread into thin lines, forming a complex symbol beneath where my signature would go. I signed my name above the blood, and the parchment glowed briefly with a dull reddish light. It is done. Rule 6 has been incorporated into the framework. You are bound by it, as are we. and the transformation. I gestured to my increasingly inhuman appearance. Will it reverse? With time, yes. The physical changes will fade once your employment formally ends. He glanced at the pocket watch. Which it does now. Your final shift is complete. Relief washed over me so intense that I nearly wept. That's it, I can just walk out. You may leave at any time, though I suggest waiting until morning. The night holds dangers for those between states. I waited until dawn and then walked out into the morning light, feeling it warm my skin without the burning pain that I had experienced in recent days. I drove home wondering if I had made the right choice. I've been working at the same McDonald's for years now, but not as somebody trapped on the night shift barred from living in the light of day. I've recruited hundreds of new employees for the night shift. Some seem to get the hang of it while others don't last long. I've come to live with what I'm forced to do and even find some joy in adding new members to the team, as morbid as that might seem. So if you ever see a job posting for a night shift position at McDonald's with good pay and benefits, I recommend that you check it out and give it a try. What's the worst thing that can happen? I'll have a number 4 meal with extra cheese, 2 Big Macs with a large fry, 3 apple pies, and a shamrock shake. Alright Stan, your total comes out to $46.50. The land whale grunted approvingly as he shoved a greasy wad of crumpled bills into Gary's outstretched palm. Here's your change, I'll call your number when it's ready. Stan trundled away to await his late night snack as Gary and I prepared the food. Jeez man, does he have a family waiting at home or something? I whispered as Gary shoveled fries into a red and yellow box. Blair, does that man look like he's got a wife and kids? Stan is one of our regulars, you'll see him pretty often if you stick with the night shift. I grimaced as I prepared the shake. Great, lucky me. Hey, it could be a lot worse. Honestly, Stan is the least of your worries, he said as a shudder rippled through his body. We processed the remainder of the order in silence. Gary and I then shuffled to the counter, each donning a full tray. Hey Stan, orders up, Gary exclaimed as the boulder of a man darted at an alarming speed to retrieve his sodium-rich smorgasbord. He snatched the trays from us, hurriedly ambling back to his corner table. I watched in astonishment as the man inhaled his meal. Hey, could you help me sweep in the back? Best do it now before any more customers. Gary was interrupted by an obnoxiously loud alarm blaring from his pocket. Stan looked up at him, glowering at the unwelcome ringing. Sorry, I gotta take this, he said, darting to the kitchen and out of view. He returned a moment later. All the color had drained from his face and he appeared sickly, like he had suddenly caught a nasty case of the flu. That was my Aunt Norma. She said that my parents were in a car wreck. Apparently my mom is in critical condition. He stared off into space, his brain slowly processing the tragic information that it had just received. Gary, I'm so sorry. Do you need to call someone? He snapped out of his trance, tears brimming in the corners of his eyes. He quickly wiped them away. No, I'll be fine. Okay, but with all due respect, what are you still doing here? Go be with your family, dude. I can handle closing up on my own. He locked eyes with me, a stern determination creeping over his countenance. Yeah, you're right, I need to go. Here, take my key to the restaurant. There's a list of rules in Dave's office. Go read them the first chance that you get. You need to follow them to a T, no matter how ridiculous they sound, got it? Yep, I'll take care of it, now go, I said as Gary handed me a small silver object. He sprinted out the front door, letting it slam shut behind him. I fashioned Gary's drive-thru headset below my hat and headed to the back to familiarize myself with the nighttime protocols. I laboriously pushed open the door to Dave's office. You would think that thing was made from solid gold with how heavy it was. I surveyed my surroundings, my eyes immediately falling to the life-sized portrait beaming back at me. Really, Dave? Even I'm not that self-absorbed, I muttered, continuing my search. I defaulted to the pockmarked bulletin board to my right. There they were, posted clear as day. I swiftly scanned over them. Rules for the night shift. Rule number 1, you are allowed a 7-minute grace period and no exceptions. Rule number 2, if a hooded figure knocks at the drive-thru window, do not answer it. Stay out of its direct line of sight and it will leave. Rule number 3, if Stan claims that you forgot his pickles, offer him a free complimentary chocolate shake. If he refuses, lock yourself in the office and call Dave. Rule number 4, no outside food or drink. Rule number 5, if a blood-like substance begins seeping from under the grill, mop it up until it stops. No, it's not blood. Rule number 6, an old woman in a shawl will come in at exactly 10 minutes past 1. Avoid looking at her for too long. She will not leave until you ask her where Tony is. Rule number 7, if a small child appears telling you that he's lost his mother, then ignore him. He does not have good intentions. Rule number 8, you are required to comply with the employee dress code. Speak to management if you need clarification on what is acceptable. Rule number 9, if you are alone and you feel the undeniable sensation of being watched, lock yourself in the office immediately and wait for it to dissipate. Rule number 10, the store closes at 2 a.m. Before you clock out, place 2 packages of raw burgers on the stove. Rule number 11, always leave the restaurant by 2:37 a.m. The Hamburglar does not like company. Rule number 12, failure to adhere to these rules will result in immediate termination. Do not hesitate to call Dave if you have any questions or concerns. Dave's phone number was hastily scrawled at the bottom of the page. I stared at the list, unsure of what to make of it. Was this some sort of cruel prank on the newbie? Maybe Gary was in on it. I resolved to wait and find out for myself, and I made my way back to the counter. Upon seeing me approach, Stan rapidly stood from his seat and sidled up to me. Can I help you with something? Yeah, you forgot my pickles. I mentally rolled my eyes. Gary hadn't been gone for 10 minutes and the fun was already ramping up. Look, I watched my coworker make those. I know that he didn't. I began before rule number 3 crept into my head. I'm sorry. Can I offer you a free shake for the inconvenience? His 4 chins flapped as he fervently shook his head. No, I don't want any more food. There is another way that you can make it up to me, though. A malicious grin inched across his face. A blanket of fear sent adrenaline bursting through my veins. I'm 16, sir, if you really think. That's not what I meant, you dumb broad. I want a refund. What? No, you already ate it all. Fine, if you won't give me my money back, then I'll have to take it from you. The massive mound of flesh began waddling to meet me behind the counter. I fled to the back, praying that he wouldn't catch me. I glanced behind me as I struggled to push open the absurdly heavy office door. Stan was barreling toward me, sending shelves of product crashing to the ground. My heart thumped against my ribcage so hard that it hurt. I had just managed to slip through the door and slam it shut when he had reached it. There was a resounding thud. He pounded his ape-like fists against the sturdy metal frame, shouting obscenities at me all the while. I'll get you. You can't stay in there forever. And he was right. I instantly ripped the yellowing piece of paper from the board and punched in Dave's number. He picked up after an agonizingly long minute of waiting.
Hello, this had better be good. I value my beauty sleep.
And Dave, it's Stan. The free shake didn't work. I'm trapped in the office. Dave sighed.
Alright, put it on speaker and hold your phone up to the door so that it can hear me.
I obliged, clenching my cracked iPhone 7 with a vice grip and sticking it close to the rattling door.
Stan, can you hear me? It's Dave.
The room fell eerily silent. Oh yeah? What's up, Davey?
Stan, are you harassing one of my employees again? I don't need to get Mrs. Barrett on the phone now, do I?
No, please, I'll behave, I swear. Please, just don't call her. His voice trembled as he spoke.
I don't know, that's what you said the last time.
I promise that I'll never bother her again. Come on, Davey, show a little compassion. Dave took a moment to respond.
Alright, but you need to go home and you need to apologize to Mrs. Blake for scaring her.
Blair, I interjected, face-palming myself.
Right, apologize to Blair and I'll let you off the hook.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Blaze, so, can I take you up on that free shake?
No, Stan, no free shake tonight. I need you to leave.
Dave said, a stern finality in his statement. Without another word, Stan angrily tramped through the kitchen and out the front door. I didn't release my breath until I heard it shut from behind him. Thanks, Dave.
Anytime, kid. In my experience, threatening to call his mother is a decent deterrent for any overgrown man-baby.
I chuckled, sensing the tension disperse.
I'm gonna get back to bed now. Good luck tonight.
And with that, he abruptly hung up. I sat for a moment, controlling my breathing in order to steady my palpitating heart before returning to my duties. I trudged into the kitchen and begrudgingly got to work, cleaning the mess of boxes and condiments that Stan had strewn throughout the area. I had just put the final ketchup bottle in its place when out of the corner of my eye I saw it. A figure was standing in the drive-thru window. I immediately tensed up, every muscle in my body freezing in place. It glared at me, yellow glowing eyes piercing the dark. It raised a gloved fist and knocked lightly on the thin glass. The sound freed me from my stupor. Rule number 2. I dashed to the counter and crouched behind it, hugging my knees to my chest. Ice flooded my veins as the knocking grew louder. The window shook in its frame as the light knock soon escalated to rapid pounding. I squeezed my eyes shut, terrified at the notion that the slim barrier to the outside world wouldn't hold. The constant noise assaulted my eardrums, crashing against them like thunder during a storm. The knocking crescendoed into a fever pitch of resounding slams. Just when I thought that I might lose my sanity, it stopped. I glanced up in the midst of the unsettling silence that I found myself in. It was gone, as if the entity had never appeared in the first place. I gradually stood and took my time to get my bearings. I hesitantly peeked around the corner at the drive-thru. Nothing, not so much as a scratch on the glass. I glanced down at my phone. 12:15 a.m., less than 2 hours to go. I could handle it, right? I began sweeping like Gary was beginning to ask me to do prior to receiving his unfortunate news. I was thankful for a break in the action. I didn't know how much more that I could take. Apparently, I could take a lot more, as I came to find out. A couple of college kids stumbled in, trying to hide the fact that they were obviously stoned out of their minds, and retrieved a pickup order. I watched as they clumsily staggered out the door. One of them held it politely for a small old lady, an old lady wearing a shawl. She didn't utter so much as a thank you, beelining up to the register with purpose. I was exhausted, up well past my normal operating hours, so I had completely forgotten about the rules. Big mistake. The woman glowered up at me, face obscured from view. Her head covering was black as well as the rest of her outfit, not unlike a ninja that you would see in a movie. The aura that she radiated frightened me, but not enough to release me from my sleepy haze. "Hello, can I help you?" I yawned, lazily covering my mouth. The woman didn't move a muscle. She scowled at me, yellow reptilian eyes piercing my psyche and sending my heart into overdrive. "Ma'am, would you like to order something?" Nothing. The longer we continued our staring match, the more sedated that I felt, and not just due to the lack of sleep. She had some sort of strange pull over me. I nearly nodded off, my mind wandering back to the instructions. Before I passed out, I murmured, "Where's Tony?" Suddenly, I was released from my trance and the woman was nowhere to be found. It was like she had simply vanished into thin air. My eyes widened. That was close, too close. I trudged to the sink and splashed some cool water in my face, and then poured myself a large cup of coffee. I knew that it would probably keep me up well past closing, but hey, if it helped me avoid another incident like that, I was all for it. I had just finished dumping the dustpan into the trash when I felt it. A peculiar sensation crept over me like bugs crawling on the back of my neck. I was being watched, but from where? I sensed it coming from the drive-thru. I whipped my head in its direction. Empty. I shifted to the dining area. No one was there. I grew lightheaded and panic began to surge through my system. A breeze swept past my ear and I swear that I could hear a soft, almost imperceptible voice whisper, "Blair." I bolted to the office, slamming the door shut as quickly as I could. What was that? I paced around the office like a caged animal, anxiously waiting for anything to happen. After what felt like an eternity, it began to dissipate without incident. I sat there for a moment, contemplating if this was really the right career path for me. Was every night like this? I was snapped back to reality by static emanating from my headset. I ripped it off until the noise stopped. A bumbling male voice had crackled through it.
"Hey, is this place open?"
He slurred, obviously under the influence. "Yeah, what do you want to order?" I was beginning to lose my cool. Between all these strange occurrences and the inebriated customers, my patience was wearing thin.
"I'll have a fillet of fish meal."
Coming right up. I made my way back to the kitchen and began preparing his order. Who the heck comes to McDonald's at 1:30 in the morning for a freaking fillet of fish? I grumbled, purposefully dousing his sandwich in sauce. I served the man, hoping to be rid of him as soon as possible. Thanks. Hey, is that a kid at the counter?" I turned my head and sure enough, there he was. A mess of blonde tangles and deep blue eyes peered at me from the register. I sighed. "Yeah, I'll take care of him. Have a good night." A child, unaccompanied in my restaurant. Just what I needed. I began to approach the counter when rule number 7 blared in my mind like a tornado siren. I froze mid-stride. "Just ignore him, Blair. It's almost 2. You got this." I reassured myself, starting my closing duties early. That was easier said than done. The child began wailing, shrill, high-pitched screams reverberating off the walls. He ran into the kitchen area, allowing me a full view of his tiny frame. The boy couldn't have been older than 6. His Pac-Man t-shirt looked well outdated, and he was filthy, as if he hadn't showered in years. He began tugging on my shirt, begging for attention. "Please help me, lady, I can't find my mommy," he cried, tears streaming down his rosy cheeks. He was relentlessly pulling at my clothing. That was it, I had reached my breaking point. If this child, monster, demon, or whatever he was planned on killing me, he could go ahead and put me out of my misery. I was done. "Get out. Just screw off and leave me alone." He immediately quit sniffling and straightened up as if I had flipped a switch. red tinged his striking pupils. Dread began sinking into my gut. A malicious grin blossomed across his lips. "You made the right choice," he growled as he headed toward the exit. "Weirdo kid," I mumbled, returning to cleaning. I finished up and waited around for 2 to hit, praying for a quiet, uneventful end to my first nightmare closing shift. Of course, my prayers went unanswered. I had a mere 3 minutes until I was supposed to clock out when I spotted it. A dark red, viscous liquid oozing from beneath the stove. Great, awesome, just what I needed. I filled up a mop bucket in the storage closet and began sopping up the mystery fluid. If it wasn't blood, you could have fooled me. A persistent copper taste attacked my tongue every time that I opened my mouth. I gagged, forcing vomit back down my throat. The stuff just wouldn't stop coming. On my 3rd bucketful of sloshing crimson, I finally started gaining an upper hand. I mopped fervently as blisters erupted across my hands from the friction of the wooden handle. All the not blood had been disposed of. I breathed a sigh of relief, careful to avoid splashing myself as I dumped the last of it down the drain. I had done it. Take that, I win. I cheered as if I had just claimed a first prize at the Indy 500. My celebration was short-lived once I glanced down at my phone. 2:35 a.m. I bolted to the freezer, scooping up a couple bags of frozen patties. I slashed them open as quickly as I could, hoping in vain that I would be able to make it out in time. I dumped their contents on the grill and then turned to toss the packaging in the trash. My heart plummeted into my gut. A man stood before me. His black dead eyes matched that of the small mask encompassing the top half of his face. Wispy red hair sprouted from his floppy hat. A matching tattered black and white striped uniform framed his features, accompanied by a dingy red tie dotted with images of burgers. He grinned at me, jagged rotten teeth sending a chill undulating through my entire body. He spoke, a rough, gravelly voice shattering the tense silence. "Look, I know that you're new here, so I'll spare you this time. But if I ever catch you in here this late again, I won't think twice about increasing my calorie intake." His wicked smile exuded a malevolent hunger that still haunts my nightmares. A wet gray tongue wormed its way around his cracked and withered lips. I felt like a mouse about to be devoured by a rattlesnake. He scowled at me. "What are you still doing here? Get out!" I suddenly regained my mobility. I tore through the dining area and burst into the cool night air. The Hamburglar's soulless stare followed me into the vacant parking lot. I hurriedly locked him inside and raced to my car as a torrent of emotions flooded through me at once. Fear, anger, and confusion were all prominent on my desolate drive home. In the end, rage won out. I wasn't scheduled the next day, but I was determined to make that smug prick in charge at least give me some sort of explanation. I returned to the Golden Arches around 4 hours later, running on zero sleep and a whole pot of coffee. With fire in my eyes, I flung the door open and marched straight to Dave's office. "Oh, yeah, it was great. Had his car repossessed and everything. Oh, hey Blitz, yep, For the last freaking time, it's Blair. Blair. Not Blitzen, not Blaziken, not Blakely. Blair." Dave furrowed his brow, mouth slightly agape. "Yeah, Jim, I'll have to get back to you." He ended the call and furiously pocketed his phone. "Do you even know who that was? I mean, why the heck do you think you can just storm into my office like this? No, you listen to me, Davy boy. I just had the worst night of my life. Every weird thing that could have happened, and you don't care one bit. I see you become acquainted with our more troublesome clientele. Yeah, I have, and I'm not dealing with that crap again. I quit." I hissed dramatically, slapping my head onto his polished cedarwood desk before turning to walk out the door. "Wait. $25 an hour. I stopped dead in my tracks. I reluctantly faced him. A sly, toothy grin was stamped on his greasy face. I mulled it over. That was almost double what I was currently making. I could have my college paid for in no time. 27 and you've got a deal. You drive a hard bargain, Mrs. Blair. I accept, he said, extending his hand. I begrudgingly shook it, cringing as his sweaty palm gripped mine. I'm glad you were able to see reason. Welcome to the night crew.